webinar today is going to be focused on yard tasks for the yard management, replacing radio calls with digital yard tasks. This is really how kind of like our yard task solution started. We've seen a lot of warehouses and kind of how they operate with communicating with the yard drivers, yard jockeys. They're out there in the yard. Sometimes it's really hard to kind of control and have full visibility of what they're doing or what's been done, all the moves, all the inventory checks. And so, really, yard tasks came in as a way to provide even better visibility of that, more control over the yard activities. And I think the most important thing is understanding how your yard is performing, right? You want to have visibility of that, and yard tasks play a huge role on top of that. How long's your moves taking? Uh, how long or how often you're doing inventory checks and updating information about your assets in the yard and so on and so forth. So this is really why this feature came about and is aiming to solve for. We're going to cover a little bit of how the feature is or what it has today, but we also have a good amount of time saved for us to talk about the next step or the upcoming iterations and improvements to your tasks. So I'm very excited to talk about that as well. Housekeeping rules, guys, just to get started, we are recording these sessions just so that you guys know. The session will be available together with all the other previous webinars that we've recorded and have had in 2025. So you can always access that. And this is really let me show you this real quick. Okay, so if we go to our webinars page, which is webinars.loadsmart.com, you have all the previous sessions of our webinars, and you can also subscribe to upcoming sessions by filtering by Opendock webinar. You'll see the sessions that we already have rescheduled for 2026. Going back to the presentation now. Oh, wait, there you go. Use the chat for questions. So like I said, you won't be able to speak up, but we highly recommend and suggest that you guys use the chat to ask any questions or comments. We'll be going over them, especially towards the end of the session, but feel free to add your comments, your questions throughout the entire session as well. And we'll be guiding kind of like the webinar according to what you guys are asking or most interested in hearing about. Additional help and resources. So we're going to share helpful resources and contact details right after the webinar. So you have the webinars page, you have our community pages with all the articles on how to make the most out of Opendock. And you always have a point of contact in your account manager. So make sure that you contact them for any questions or assistance needed. The core problem that your tasks aim to solve is really, visibility of what's happening in terms of activity. It's, keeping an inventory of the yard is one thing, but then understanding how moves are being done or how information is being updated, how often is being updated, is being updated correctly, all of that. The yard activities are so dynamic that it's just like having a yard visibility system without having or encompassing yard tasks is really not a complete solution, right? And this is why we decided to kind of like create this feature. Most yards are struggling with, radio calls to whiteboards, just knowledge being siloed and not really shared all across, or information about what's happening on the yard or visibility of what's happening on the yard not being shared all across. And what we wanted to do with our yard task solution is really provide better visibility, thorough updates into what's happening and when it happened. And then the third layer of that is reporting, making sure that you guys would be able to go back into all the yard activity and what happened throughout the operation and really understand how your yard is performing. YMS is a system of execution. So the whole point of our YMS solution is really to connect the dock, the gate, and then the yard, and kind of create a single workflow for that. Most of you guys know, and then I see a lot of you guys in here that have been using our YMS for a little while, have been using our gate management solution as well. The YMS is brand new to us, and we're still building and improving on it and iterating on it. And what we want is get to, the end of 2026 with a really solid, comprehensive YMS solution. We can only do that by having you guys is piloting it, testing it, letting us know what works and what doesn't work. And so before I start, I just want to say thank you for all the feedback that you guys always provide, for the willingness to test out and pilot a solution that we've just, brought to the market, and being patient with all kind of like the releases. Every 2 weeks, we have a new release for Opendock as a whole, and that means doc scheduling, gate management, and YMS. And there's going to be a major focus on 2026 on the YMS and enhancing its capabilities. So your feedback is really, truly valuable for us to understand kind of how to create these connection points across doc scheduling, gate management, and YMS in a way that really streamlines operations for you guys. Where your tasks fit. So basically, your task covers two main things: yard moves. So when you want an asset, a container, a trailer being moved from one point to another in the yard task is pretty much the way to go. You create that task, and that task is visible for yard drivers so that they can see it and execute that move. And then on the second layer is yard checks or inventory checks, which is pretty much more open-ended type of task. We haven't released that yet, but we're getting ready to release that very soon, which is the ability to then create, more so activities and not so much moves, but that need to be done and executed by the team. And it can be a preload, or it can be, for example, an inspection, or it can be a whole, yard inventory check. I want to make sure that I see, or I need someone to go over to my drop trailer area and update the information on the assets that are sitting in there. So that's part of the activities and kind of like the task type things that we want to incorporate to your tasks as well, going beyond moves and allowing for you guys to do that. Yard tasks in practice. So the whole premise and kind of like how it works is that drivers or yard drivers can use either a phone or a tablet, a mobile device of any sort to manage and execute those tasks. On the warehouse side or the management side, you'll be able to create these tasks and follow up with how they're being fulfilled or how they're being completed. And then obviously you get to see not just progress and updates about this task, but reporting and understand kind of how you're operating from an efficiency perspective about your yard as well. So I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit of the reporting that we've been building on top of activities of the yard as well. Now, let's see it in action. All this presentation and the recording is obviously going to be available to you guys so that you can dive deeper into kind of like the listed capabilities. I really wanted to focus more than anything on the live demo, and especially on the upcoming things for your tasks as well. So on the left side of the screen, what you guys are seeing is really my YMS view. So this is my yard view. I have my dock doors, my drop trailer empty area, a loaded area, my parking, general parking zone, and my preloads. This is kind of how I, broke my yard apart into the different areas. And a couple of things for us to see here when it comes to interaction with yard tasks. On the right side of the screen, what you guys are seeing is the yard driver application. So as a yard driver, this is what I see when I log into the yard driver app. It starts with the to-do list. So all the tasks that have not been completed and are up for grabs on my list. I see this one is marked as urgent. So this is probably the one that I would start with. Then I have my in progress list, and then my completed task list, and then everything that has been canceled. So this is pretty much the view. We kept it simple, easy to use on the yard driver's side because we really want them to be focused on executing, right? And then on the yard management side, which is the left side of the screen, we have a lot more stuff to go over in terms of management of these tasks and planning for them and so on and so forth. So as a first like glimpse into yard tasks, you guys will see that I have two containers right here sitting on my drop trailer empty area, and I have a little lock on them. This by itself already signals that there is a task created for this specific asset and is a move. So if I click on the asset itself, just to open the details about this asset, I'm going to see that it's locked by this task. If I click on it, which is this is a hyperlink, I'm going to be able to see the details about this task itself. So this task is still on to do. It's created by myself, and this is when it was created at. I have the details about the move itself. So what is the asset that I want to move? What is the origin spot? So where it's located right now, which is H1 on my drop trail area, and where I have assigned this move, which is my preloads PL1. So if we go over to my preloads PL1, I'm going to see the spot is reserved. And from the spot itself, I can also see the task that it's been, kind of like waiting for this move to happen. This is kind of like what you guys are able to see right after you create a task for a specific asset and all the information in it. The description is always available for both the yard driver, but also for you guys to update in here if needed for management reasons. You can always assign the task to a specific driver, or you can leave it unassigned, and it really depends on how your operation goes or prefers to go about this. Some warehouses prefer to assign them right away because they have areas in the yard where they're directly assigned to. Others prefer to have it unassigned and then have the yard drivers grabbing the task by, either the ETA or the deadline that the task needs to be completed by, or by level of urgency, or even by yard area. So if I'm, for example, around my drop trailer areas, and I'm a driver and I'm already located there, I can start a move or the next move that's assigned to their area specifically. So it's easier to do that. It really depends on how you guys want to operate. So this is why this whole section is optional. This is really the view that you guys get. And then on the left side, so on the right side, I can see these two tasks. So I have two tasks right here assigned to these two containers. The reserved spots are these two. And then on the yard driver's side, this is kind of how I see them. One of them is marked as urgent. The other one is not. One of them has an ETA or time to kind of like completion. The other one does not. Both of them are unassigned, but if they were assigned to a specific yard driver, I would see the assigned driver to it as well. If I click on one specific task to get started, what I can do from here is I click on it, I see all of the details on it. I hit start task, and we start tracking how long this task is taking until completion. So then we're going to build the reportings on top of, how long each of the moves are taking. And then we can do that by user. We can do that, generally on the moves, side, so that we can understand how long moves are taking. After the move is completed, what the yard driver needs to do is just hit complete task, and then the location of the asset, it's updated automatically based on the completion of the task. So you guys will see that the first spot is no longer reserved. It's already occupied by the asset that I had the task, assigned to. And then the task is marked completed, and I can go back and start the next one. If we go over to our yard tasks management kind of like side, this is where I see kind of like all the tasks. So example, if I start the second task that we have on our pipeline as a yard driver, let me go back. If I start the task from right here, if I start the task that I already have on the pipeline, I can hit start task. This is automatically going to move the task that the driver started to in progress. So you guys can see this is all like done real time. As the drivers are managing or fulfilling the tasks on the Yard Driver app, you're getting the updates right here that the tasks have been moved to in progress and then to completion as well. And then when I hit complete task, the task is moved then to the completed section. I gave you guys a little bit of a spoiler on that, but drivers can also start their own tasks. So if I hit new move, as a yard driver, and then I start the task, I'm able to then select an asset from the yard that needs to be moved, for example, and I can see all of their locations and kind of like where they are. So I can move, for example, this guy right here from, the dock door K1 into, or actually, let me grab another asset. Let me grab my drop trailer loaded. So I have this guy right here sitting on my loaded area, and then I can move it to a dock door, for example, or to another spot for, I'm just going to pick the first one that's available. Once I complete the task, the move is done automatically as well. So a lot of facilities operate this way where the tasks are not pre-created or pre-assigned to your drivers, but they can be created by the drivers themselves if that's how you guys prefer to work through things. Now, another thing to you guys that I want to kind of like show from the yard tasks kind of perspective is you guys can always create tasks from either hitting the create task button. It always starts with picking out or selecting the asset that you want to move. So I just pick one of the assets that are here listed on my inventory. And then what I'm going to do is select a destination spot. Anything that's already assigned or that's already occupied by an asset is not available, but then everything that's available is going to be available for you guys to pick out from. You can put in the description of the task in here. This is optional. You don't have to since it's a move. Sometimes just assigning the move is all it needs, but then you can always, ask it or add a description to it as well. Assignment and priority, this is also optional, but you can assign it directly to a specific yard driver. So I'm going to assign it to myself, for example. And in the case, say, for example, that you have a preload that needs to be done before end of day today, right? Because the pickup is tomorrow morning. This is kind of urgent, it's time, sensitive. So you want to make sure that's done, say, before end of day today. So I can put in an ETA to it or a due by so that the yard driver knows and they'll be able to see this on the yard task itself that it has to be done by a specific date and time. Attachments is not yet available, but it's going to be available soon where you'll be able to upload documents and the yard driver is going to then be able to see the documents uploaded and open them from the yard driver app itself. If I save the task, it's then created. And then the update on the yard view is done where the reservation is created. And once the move is completed, I know the move has been completed and done. Now, and here it is. So here's where we find the reserved spot. Now, what I want to do, and so these are the capabilities or general capabilities that you guys will be seeing right now. A couple of things for us to kind of like take a look at and see is once the tasks are moved to in progress or to, completed, we'll be able to see kind of like the timeline of what that's happening, who's, doing that task and how long it's taking and, who started it and whatnot. So you guys are always able to follow that through the task management side as well, but you also see the updates coming through the yard view itself. The drivers will always get the updates and the kind of like the view of all the tasks they're on the to-do section. They're able to create their own moves as well. And they have a couple filters that they can play around with. I want to see everything that's assigned to me only if that's kind of like the focus of your operation, having them pre-assigned to specific yard drivers. I want to see what's overdue first because I want to make sure that we do them first, or I want to see move tasks only first because we're creating a second type of task that is the check task, which I'm going to show you guys a little bit in a couple minutes. And the last thing I want to show you guys on this view is tasks can be triggered not just by clicking on the create task button or from the create task button right here on the yard task side, but they can also be triggered by dragging and dropping an asset into another spot. This is not available to all of our customers using the YMS. So if you guys have not seen this to your operation, is because we kind of gated this a little bit or restricted this a little bit because it can be a little bit overwhelming if you don't want to use your task for every single move that you do. Example, and then I'm going to show you guys this real quick. If I drag and drop this asset, so I'm going to drag and drop it from H3 to H12. What I'm going to have happening or here is I have a task triggered, and then because I dragged and dropped this asset, this is already pre-populated with the information. So I dragged and dropped this asset from this spot to this spot, and what I can do is add the additional description and additional information to it. But if I just hit save, then the task is created, seen automatically on the driver app. So this is right here, the task populating, and then the task is created right here. Some of you guys might not want to trigger tasks for every single thing that you guys drag and drop on the screen, which is the reason why we haven't enabled this to everyone's account. But please feel free to ask us, either your account manager, here on the chat, however it is, via email. Let me know if you guys want to have this enabled to your account. But very soon it will be available to all customers, and it will be an opt-in setting where you guys can have a little bit more control if you don't want to use it. But basically, if you drag and drop an asset to a different spot, you can either create a task or skip and confirm the move. So if I don't want to create a task, I just want to update the location of the asset without triggering the task, I can just skip and confirm the move, and the asset location is updated. So this is kind of how it works right now. We're making little improvements to it so that is not too overwhelming for customers that might not want to use or trigger yard tasks every single time that they're, updating a location of the asset in the yard. Now, going back to the presentation, I do want to cover some of the exciting things that are coming up soon. So let me do this real quick. Hope you guys can see the full screen of the presentation. This video right here is depicting what we're building right now, which is the comments, event log, and issues section. So if I go back real quick to one of the tasks that I already have created, let's open one up. Maybe this one, which has all the information. The comments and activity session, you guys will see that this is not entirely populating. There's a lot of it missing still, and we're working on that. So for every event or everything that's happening to the yard task itself, we're going to be creating a log here for all the activities. And on top of that, we're creating kind of like a two-way communication system where yard drivers can type in messages or comments to the task. And from here, I'm going to be able to reply to those comments as well. So if they have questions or if they want to update you on whatever it's happening to that asset specifically, and reporting issues as well. For whatever reason, I was not able to complete this move because there was already, there was an equipment blocking the dock door that was supposed to move this container into, example. They could report an issue to this task so that anyone managing the task would have visibility that this issue has been reported, and this is the reason why the task cannot be completed. So going back to the video right here, this is what you guys are going to see. It's kind of like the whole flow for the activities and the comments and the event log section kind of happening. So if you see the activity, this is, and then here we have it kind of a little bit backwards. So we have the driver app on the left side, and then on the right side, we have the management for the tasks. So basically the driver is updating all the task activity. The yard manager is messaging or creating like a comment to the task itself. The driver is now adding an issue to the task. So basically marking the task as having an issue. There's a drop down with pre-populated options. They don't have to type it in, but they can just select one of the options that could be generating or the cause of the issue. Confirm. Once that's confirmed, the task itself is marked on the view as having an issue, and then it's all logged into on the logs to the task itself. So this is a whole kind of like added flow that we're adding to our tasks, which hopefully is going to help a lot with communication and visibility into what's happening. So just so that you guys know, this is something that we're working on right now and hopefully going to release in the next couple of weeks. We just had a release for Opendock last Wednesday. So not the next Wednesday, the Wednesday after the next is going to be our next release for Opendock, and that's when you guys are going to be seeing the majority of the improvements that I'm showing you guys now into yard tasks as well. Second improvement that we're making is the ability to visualize, update the location of the asset, and create tasks from the list view. So you both have the grid view, which is the view that I was working out from when doing the demo for you guys just now. If we switch over to the list view, you're going to be seeing all the assets in the yard kind of listed, kind of more like an inventory list. And we're adding capabilities around your tasks to the list view as well. So if you take a closer look to this video right here, we will have a new column, which is the open move task. Every time that I have a task or a move assigned to a specific asset, you have the link to the task itself so that you can check it from the list view as well. And then you'll be able to open the task or even switch the location, triggering the task from the list view as well. So added capabilities to the list view. You won't have to manage your create tasks solely from the grid view. So I can see the location, trigger the task, and really update asset location from the list view as well. And then the third improvement is check tasks. So check tasks were kind of like thought about in the first place as a means to have more open-ended type of tasks. I want to go beyond moves and into inventory checks or inspections or, controlling and tracking preload activity. Is this preloaded? Is this unloaded and ready for, to be loaded again for the next pickup? So all of that activity that happens outside of the appointment itself, because the appointment is solely focused on the pickup and the delivery, right? The drop and the pickup, right? And then the live loading, unloading. But then preloads, what happens, when we want to preload things? We don't want to tie them directly to the appointment necessarily, but I want to make sure that I'm tracking that. So that's kind of like the reasoning and thinking behind the check tasks, where you're going to be able to create, hey, I want to create a preload task, or I want to create an inspection task, or I want to create, like a check, inventory check. And check tasks can be created to specific assets, specific spots, a dock door or a spot in the yard, or they can be created to whole areas. So I want to say, for example, I need an inventory check for my drop trailer area. They're going to be able to just go in there. And this is the example that we're going to see on the video right here. Oh, let me go back. This is the example that we see on the video right here, which is pretty much, and this is the driver app. There's an inventory check right here that needs to be done for the drop trailer area. Once they click on it and start the task itself, they will have access to that specific area. So it's isolated to that area. And what they're going to be able to see is all the spots and all the assets on that specific area, and they can update information about them. If it's the location or if it's the specific asset details, a trailer number, a temperature check, or a weight check, whatever it is that needs to be updated, fuel level, a chassis condition, what's containing, everything can be updated by the yard driver role or whoever it is that's going to be, doing the inventory check. So once the check task is created, they can just do the whole inventory check or, follow the whole list of subtasks in that specific task, complete them, and then everything that they have updated is then translated into updates to the yard management system. This was a lot, guys, I know, and hopefully exciting things are coming up next. I know that we're on time or past time, but I want to make sure that we're addressing some of the questions. So for you guys that can still stay on the call, I'm going to be going over some of the questions and comments that we have. And you guys will have access to the recording and to kind of like the videos of the upcoming stuff. So hopefully you guys can check it out and provide us feedback of how you guys are seeing things and how you guys like the new updates that are coming up soon.
Yeah, Jude, there's a couple questions from Chris
Yeah.
and Kelly. If you want to speak to those, I answered one from Chris, but I said I would bring it up as well. So,
Okay, absolutely. I'm gonna start with Kelly because that's the one that I can see like last. When dragging and dropping, can the task be created and completed within the same pop-up? Um, Soon, yes. So right now the task can be created with a drag and drop, but it cannot be completed. So what you can do, and then let me go back to the screen and just show this to you real quick, Kelly. So when dragging and dropping, you can create the task. So you have the option to create the task. Let me do this so that I can do this. What you can do from here is either save and create the task, and then the yard driver is going to have to complete it, or you can just keep the creation of the task and just confirm the move. So if you just want the move, or if you just want the update of the location of the asset, but you don't want to trigger a whole task to the yard driver so that they can complete it, this is kind of what you do. Very soon, anyone managing the tasks from here will be also able to drag and drop the tasks across the different statuses. Say, for example, that for whatever reason my yard driver did not have access to this specific task, but he completed it. I just want to update the status of this task and move it to completed from here, or update the asset location and just make sure that the task was started and completed and I'm the one doing this from here. You'll be able to do that very soon, but it's not yet a capability. But what you could do is just either keep the creation of the task and then update a move, or create the task and then the yard driver is going to complete the move. Is there reporting functionality for tasks performed within a selected time frame? I love that you asked this question because I forgot to show you guys this bit right here. We are piloting the Yard Insights first reporting for our yard kind of like operations, or the YMS. We're piloting this first one, which gives you visibility of our assets in the yard, time to spot assignment, time to first update, how many assets you have by asset owner. For the departed assets, you have the gate in, the gate out times, you have, the turnaround times. There's a bunch of data in here that hopefully you guys are going to be playing around with soon. And we're currently building the Your Task Performance dashboard, which is going to be added to this as well. So you'll be able to see time to completion of tasks. You're going to be able to see performance of specific yard drivers, how long are they taking to complete tasks, how many tasks they have created, how many tasks I have in each of the statuses. All of that is being built right now. And I think in the next week or so, you guys will have access to the first version of the performance, or the yard tasks performance dashboard. Can appointment status changes be used to trigger move tasks for specific docs? Not yet, Kelly, but this is definitely the plan for the future. We wanted to get this out and in you guys' hands first thing. And the next step is to start thinking about triggering automations. How is it that you guys want to automate tasks, maybe pre-schedule tasks, based on the status of the appointment or based on the status of the asset itself? Say, for example, if it's loaded, I want to make sure that it's moved to a doctor for pickup, or if it's ready for pickup, whatever it is, or kind of like the flow that you guys want to create in terms of automations for yard tasks. We definitely have that in mind. It's not something available right now, but we want to work towards that for sure. Yeah, Chris, I see your comment too on wanting to auto-generate tasks. And then, guys, I think that we can set up a meeting between you guys and us so that we can discuss a little bit more about these triggers, right? Because it can be anything when we're thinking about triggering and automating tasks. And I think each facility and each operation is going to work a little bit different. So I'd love to hear from you guys firsthand, like from you guys firsthand. What are the triggers that you guys would like to have in terms of automating tasks? I want a task created every time that this happens. I want a task how to create it every time that this happens. Example, I want a inspection task created every time that I mark an asset as inoperable or damaged. That's an example, but you guys can think of however many examples you guys can get really creative with that. And I'd love to hear that firsthand and kind of start thinking about how to solve